like if you break out there, the amount of people that can get you parts or help you out, it's
Support
pretty
and love
crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, everyone is so friendly and so willing to help in any which way. Especially, I grew up in Glamis, and I'd say my biggest audience on social media is Glamis.
Yeah.
So being out there, I mean, I've helped tons and tons of people with stuff, and just everyone is so loving and so friendly to lend a hand, help in any which way possible. It's an industry that is very open-hearted.
All right, welcome back to the Industry Podcast. My name is Doug. We have a guest, Harrison Weiss, on the show today. He's up and coming in the side-by-side world. Got himself a hobby shop in El Cajon. Appreciate you coming down.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Or coming up. 2-hour drive from San Diego.
A little traffic, but all good.
So, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Life is wild all the time, but it's been busy but fun, trying to grow everything I'm doing in the off-road world and manage the business and just keep trying to pursue new further ventures. But it's been good.
Yeah, you seem like you've been on the move.
Yeah, it's usually a nonstop process with having 2 off-road cars, trying to manage that and always keep them moving to make all the partners happy and the social media flowing good. And yeah, because if you're static and not moving, then
dude, social media is hard.
It is.
I think it's such a big battle and a big part of the job of. You want to race, you want to have fun with that, but if you're not pushing social media, you're really, it's kind of nobody, you know?
Yeah, the whole new world is social media. I mean, there wouldn't be much sponsorship or partnership without having the social media behind you. And that's where my downfall was trying to grow into this industry was, well, I don't have a ton of followers yet. It's getting there, but that makes the partners kind of, hold back
reluctant
on trying to do more with you. Obviously, I'm good, close friends with Blake Wilkie, so that's very helpful for me to be able to grab his audience because we do so much together and use his social media as well to grow mine at the same time and trying to get to that higher level so that the partners one day can be like, okay, now you have all these followers, we're willing to do more for you and support you more. That's kind of the harder part with social media, but I'd say over the past year or two, I kind of realized a certain target to be able to work towards on social media and how to capture people's eye better. You don't want to just overflow people with the same exact product nonstop. You want to kind of use your general life in there as well, and also just the things that make you happy. And I've noticed a lot with these off-road companies that they're just the same stuff every day. And it just, people will look at it and then hit next pretty quick. Yeah. So you want your stuff to just be eye-catching.
Eye-catching and I think genuine too. I think TikTok's a good platform, but I think it really changed the entire social media presence and engagement. Because people don't have, their attention span's 2-3 seconds.
Yep.
And then it's gone.
Yeah, it's the hard part with trying to do reels all the time. I spend hours if I'm making even one reel to just try to find that right song and the right good first 5 seconds to just capture someone's eye.
And then maybe get a couple hundred likes.
Yeah. Yeah. TikTok's helpful to teach you a guide on a way to follow and what is popular and to kind of just do it the right way. If you are making a good off-road video, for example, Instagram will show you a ton of reels that have tons and tons of views and likes, but they're all professionally done. You're paying for someone to edit it and have the good camera equipment. Well, for average people, it's not really too doable to do it that way. So it is kind of harder to grow your reels and your content without that money.
Yeah, and I think too, growing an Instagram page nowadays, Instagram's gotten saturated.
Yep.
So I think starting in you're trying to come up in side-by-side racing right now. I think it's almost harder nowadays to grow a genuine audience or followers.
Yeah.
than it was 5-6 years ago.
For sure.
When the reels were starting to pop off, and like now you post a good reel, it blows up, and it's all like Middle East. It's somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not here. You know.
No.
So I know it's a challenge. We're doing it here at LSK, like figuring out different ways to engage with people, and for us not to make it a sales pitch, like make it enjoyable for people to watch.
Yeah.
Put funny stuff on there, whatever we can do.
Yeah. And I've also been trying to learn on proper timing. You know, Instagram, you have certain days that is a lot more active, and then certain days that aren't as active, just trying to get the reach out there more. It's not so much me sitting here saying, oh, I want so many likes. Yeah. It's just you want to grow your brand, and your Instagram is your brand in the industry I'm in. So trying to choose the right time and right day and right song to use, and right good images that are clear and good. And it's a whole job on its own, to be honest.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I honestly wish it wasn't so geared around social media, because there's times where it takes the fun out of what you're doing.
For sure. Yeah.
But it's
or
like,
you forget now, you know, you're out and about doing the off-road stuff, and your whole job kind of now, as we're talking about, is to post. And then you forget things, and you forget to tag that company or that product and show this and show that. So it does take away living in the moment sometimes, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of companies, so do you have some people on board with you right now?
I've been, I'd say, a little more fortunate getting into it the way I did, obviously because of Blake. It made me be able to reach out to the partners and they already know who I am. I've met mostly all of them. Most of my partners are already people that Blake has been and partnered with. So it helped for sure. I've been doing so much with him in the past year and a half. So they already knew who I was. But when I decided to go down this road, I basically got a really good resume made and just sent it out to all the companies I wanted to have as a partner, and also the companies that Blake have been using, so that we can do future races together and events together. And it's just an easier flow, so that I'm not stepping on toes and he's not stepping on toes also. But every partner was very open and very willing to, you know, supply product and supply, you know, I got some contracts and be able to start to grow what I'm doing. A lot of them were a little hesitant because of the followers, not having too many followers, but they all realized that I'm very active, and me being with Blake all the time was helpful too. So it's, I could see a bright future with it. It's definitely already growing. I've been in contact with some of the partners on bigger contracts next year and more funds and this and that. So it's just a long process and an expensive process when you're not getting checks yet. But I mean, the product alone is huge help. XComp with supplying tires and helping with that has been tremendous, because I mean, the car isn't really going through product all the time. Like, you don't need another Switch Pro or more seats.
No, but tires.
And Method. I have a partnership with them on a good program, and just supplying wheels and tires is the biggest thing. And I'm very fortunate to be with those companies, to be able to grow and hopefully get bigger and bigger with them down the line, because that's the most reusable throwaway items there could be with this. But yeah, it's a fun adventure.
How often are you going through tires on your Razor?
Not often. We'll run into little sidewall slits. That's kind of the only thing I've been seeing. I'm on the same exact tires that I've been on since the Mint on the race car. They're fine. They probably have 10% wear after 500 miles of off-road driving. So they've been good.
They seem to last.
Honestly impressed.
They seem to last long. We have Tenzer, obviously, with Aaron. And he's done the whole season on the one set.
I think the weight of the vehicles, they don't weigh that much, so the dig and the traction is good, but you're not having that 6,000-pound trophy truck throw it around and hit stuff faster and harder. So they survive good. I'm definitely I've been impressed with the XComps for sure. They're softer, which I think the traction is better, and like I said, I'm on the same set for a while now, and I do all this testing and driving nonstop, and it's been good.
Yeah, they seem to do good.
Yep.
So the Mint, since you brought it up, how was that? That's a big race to jump into.
I'm not going to say it's a sore subject. That was the first time I have ever gone and raced a big event. And I went into it high hopes. You know, the car was a year project ever since it got in the accident. And it's beautiful, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. When I got to that point, I was trying to be ready for KOH, and I just finished the car. So timing I've never driven it yet. So I was like, okay, we'll get out there, do test miles. And then everything went really good at KOH, driving the car. I put 300 miles on it. And I said, okay, well, it's in one piece. It's in good shape. Let's try this. So spent the money for the entry, which is pretty good. And all the money to go out there and gather the people. And luckily, Blake was doing it also. So we just gathered up on the pit. But the Mint was I didn't know what was going to happen, to be honest. I just went into it saying, all right.
I mean, it seems like a pretty ballsy event.
The car seems good, so let's go try this thing. Yeah. And it was unfortunate. It's just a learning experience. In the first minute on lap 1, the car went into limp mode.
Is it the same car from last weekend?
Correct. Yeah, the car went into limp mode, and then it went into limp mode 7 more times after that, every minute and a half. And I was stopping. I stopped on the lake bed right away on the Mint. I got passed by 5 Pro Rs, all people that I know, all people that I've been excited to race against, and kind of show that I could stay with you and I could do this also. And just getting passed right away by everyone with this problem it sucked. And I was in the car screaming, and my poor co-driver Spencer had to hear me, and but we just kept pushing. And those 6 more times we had to stop after that to turn off the car and turn it back on to try to reset the computer. I never got passed again, and it, let's say, cleared out after those 6 times, and I just put my head in it, put my foot to the floor, and had confidence in the car and my ability to drive, because I've been doing this for a long time, and drove hard, went from 19th overall all the way up to 3rd overall by the end of lap 1. And I came into main pit behind Doug Matag, which was the first UTV on the road. And it was just that was a big feeling. I mean, these guys are fast.
It's an accomplishment right there.
It's an accomplishment. Yeah. You know, Sierra Romo, I was chasing her for a long time, and some other people that I know, and everyone's a good driver, and everyone's fast, and I had a little bit of an edge. Maybe I was pushing a little too hard trying to make up time. But, yeah, coming in the main pit like that, physically 3rd, was a huge feeling.
Yeah.
And the pit was a nightmare. We kind of went over it really good in the morning, but I think we just kind of rushed, and it was the first time me racing with this car. We had a problem trying to get fuel into the car because we had the gas can sitting up and it wasn't vented properly, and then miscommunications, and they let me go, and I had a tire going low. So then I had to back up down pit lane, which I don't know if that's allowed or not, but I backed up 500 feet back to pit and got passed by 5 cars that I've been pushing past in the first lap, making up my time. And I was sitting there screaming. I'm not someone that gets frustrated at really anything, but I was screaming in the car and just sitting there saying, "Nah, this sucks."
Yeah.
And
Dude, you almost need to do like practice pit sessions outside of a race.
Yeah, which first go at this whole thing, we just didn't have the timing. Going to the Mint, it's all so much fun. It's a great time being with everyone, but from the time you're there, pretty much to the time you're going home, it's pretty busy.
Yeah.
I mean, getting set up for the races and stuff, it's a lot of work. And we kind of just dialed in this program at 5:30 in the morning, race day, with people that have been pitting for Blake. So, you know, the experience was there, but I just think because of the new car situation and how it wanted to take the fuel, it just wasn't good. Yeah. And then with the flat tire, they jacked up the car, and then the fuel was too tall for them to get the can in. It's just a nightmare.
It's a bunch of little problems.
Yeah. But took off after that, and it's a long race. The Mint, anything could happen. I know I didn't complete it, but I know that you could have these failures and still come out on top. Anything could happen in the off-road racing. So I just put my head forward and had a good battle in the next 23 miles out on lap 2, past some other drivers that are friends of mine and people I know, and just felt good trying to work my way back up again. And hit the brakes hard at one moment out mile 23, and pop goes the ball joint, stock ball joints. So that was the end of the day, but I got out of the car smiling. Me and Spencer were laughing.
Dude, at the end of the day, you got to experience racing the Mint.
I mean, and the Mint's iconic.
Yeah,
and
I've never even been in it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a whole, it's got history, and everyone talks about the Mint. So just being there and coming in third after lap 1 was, enough for me to say, hey, I came out here, I tried this, I put in the money for it, I put in the time and the drive, and
it gives you some mental confidence if you do it next year. Like, hey, I can be up there with those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
So get some other things dialed in.
And now I showed them all that I could drive. Yeah. So it was good.
I saw you aim at District 38 the first race. Yeah. I think you kind of sandbagged that race a little bit.
Well, I mean, that was my first race ever back in October, and with a fully stock Pro R. It had a cage on it and seats and harnesses.
Yeah.
I've never raced a day in my life with anything besides some RC car stuff, and I was like, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I could drive. So, and showed up and just first to first all the way through, and
me hammered down.
And I hammered down. Yeah. I drove 7 miles with a flat tire. I blew out the rear diff.
Blew diff. Everybody blew diffs that.
Yeah,
that
it was. But I just put my foot down and got through it. And the Pro Rs are tough, and it held up, and I got that win. And that was a great way for me to start. And it kind of triggered me more to try to get the other car done faster and want to adventure more into this and get deeper, because that was starting off with a win. It felt great for sure.
Yeah, so do you think the stock cars, I mean, right out of the box, do you think they handle a little bit better and last a little longer until you start putting upgrades on them? It seems like...
No.
No?
No. It always is about how you drive and what you hit, but the Pro R stock is a very capable, very durable car. They stepped up big time, and I think the average user of the car, I mean, technically shouldn't barely ever have a problem with it. But yeah, when you start putting aftermarket stuff on it, I think you're only strengthening and making it better. I know the saying, you start messing with things and it starts to break more and stuff, but no, I don't see that being the case, because we have plenty of stuff done between, the 3 cars that me and Blake have around, and I get out of the car after every time I drive it. I never have to turn one bolt. Yeah. No hardware moves. I've never had anything just break besides a couple primary clutches I've gone through.
Or some air intake issues.
Yeah. Or you mess with something that you shouldn't have. Yeah.
But, I mean, it's trial and error.
Oh, yeah.
You're always trying different things.
Yeah. You want to keep trying to grow and make things better. And after the Mint, the car was in great shape. I got out of the car, and there was nothing wrong with it at all, just the ball joint. And went home, and I had a spare ball joint. I mean, honestly, looking back at the Mint, if I knew and remembered I had the spare ball joint in the main pit, maybe I kind of would have tried something. They're not too hard to press out. But I went home and put a new ball joint in and went and tried to race again a few weeks later at the next D38 race. And knowing that I was probably going to break a ball joint, but we've been in the talk with you guys at LSK and ex-Travel Boys and trying to get that front end. And I just knew, well, not worth me dumping a bunch of money into the front end, and if I'm going to change everything. Yeah. But I want to race, so I'll go to this cheap local race and have a good time, and if I break, I break. And I went down there and made it 15-mile laps, 6 of them. I made it almost lap 2, and pop, another ball joint. So not too unfortunate in my head. I mean, yeah, we want to finish. Yeah, we want results, because that's how we grow. But, went down there already knowing. So, and then from there, taking it to the next D38 race, which we just had over the past weekend, I put bigger ball joints in there for the meantime until we get the new front end. And I knew that the car is good. I'm like, all right, I've been doing a lot of tuning stuff with Alba. We've been working very closely on new features on the ECU. And I knew that going forward into this, I was like, all right, this is going to be the car's first finish. This is going to be good. And it started off very strong until I just had limp mode the entire lap one, getting passed by probably 30 cars.
Did you do the bomb run?
I did. And no issues on that? I drove 3 miles before that, and then I did the bomb run, and the car was perfect. So I was like, all right, we're going into this good. The car's going to be good. And then as soon as I think we started to be behind Dust and other people, something I tried new on the airbox, wasn't happy, and it choked it out. And I don't think it was just getting the airflow needed. And it just gave me severe limp mode the entire lap one. And I stopped, honestly, 60 times. And just I would turn off the car, turn it back on, and start gaining pace again for a little bit, trying to catch the same person for like 12 miles that I'm like getting close to stopping. And then it kept getting more and more severe where it never went away. I couldn't go fast at all. And finally, after felt like an eternity, finished lap one, got out, swapped the ECUs, just trying anything I could in my brain to clear the problem out. And immediately was in the same limp mode. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. And I just turned off at mile 2, drove back to pit, sat there for an hour with Aaron, and we started unplugging stuff and cleaning connectors and talking and looking at everything, just not understanding what's happening. And I said to my co-driver, I was like, well, you know, the race is still happening. You want to get back in and just like try again. And we made it about 15 or 20 miles, something like that, and it was pretty good. I was being very conservative. I kind of felt if I hit the throttle hard that it probably would limp mode, so I just stayed light and tried to be a little quick and had a little fun. And then it just got severely worse again, and kind of just did the rest of lap 2 barely touching the throttle, and said, all right, I've had plenty of fun today. Yeah. Parked it, and then spent an hour kind of messing with some things and thinking, and that great saying that your parents teach you of what'd you do last came into play. And, you know, the car's been driving pretty good. So I was like, well, what did I do last? I put something on the airbox. So I cut it off and went and drove it, and I drove 20 miles, and it was perfect.
It's fine.
I was like, great.
Yeah. Well, at least you know.
At least it's a cheap local race that didn't cost me $10,000 to go do. So.
And a cheap fix.
Could
have been something
free fix.
Crazy.
Yep.
Okay, so backing up, let's get to your hobby store. Mm-hmm. You can talk about that and what got you into that. Like that's a very small scale of what you do for racing nowadays. You know.
Yeah. So the hobby shop called Cajon Hobbies has been around since 2009 in El Cajon, and I got into the RC cars when I was 12. I'm 26 now. And I kept going to this hobby shop almost every day. RC cars, as anyone knows, is an addicting hobby, and they break. And you'd never know what to do with them until you have the hobby shop guy teach you or show you something. I was there pretty much every day, and it got to a point probably about a year into it where I was a young kid, and my parents have always been driven for me to succeed at anything. And they said, well, why don't you try to get a job there? And maybe you could do something simple, like go give out flyers at the mall or something for them. And so I pushed on that. I met the owner, and he let me go put flyers on cars at the local mall during Christmas time, and then just kind of started being around the shop more and more and picking up on what everyone's teaching me and getting paid dirt nothing, but I was just so stoked to be a part of it. Yeah. And so that was my first job at that hobby shop that I own now. And I, over the years, stayed close with them and worked there throughout high school. And then after high school, as a typical human, not knowing what they want to do in the world, I decided to go and do the fab school because in high school I was also doing welding class. not really a type that wants to go to 4-year college and learn something I don't really care about. So the fab school came to mind, and that was a very good adventure in my head. So I went and did that up here in NorCal, and it was good. I learned a lot about, fabrication, welding more. I've been a very good welder for a long time, and it was the right way to go for in the moment with my life. And I completed the fab school, and my parents moved to Havasu right after high school. So then I went and lived out in Havasu after the fab school for a year, doing a couple different fabrication jobs out there. And I got fired from one, and it just gave me the perfect opportunity to go back to San Diego, because that's where I grew up. That's where all my friends are. And I went back there, and I got a job at another fab shop there, and I also worked at the hobby shop again 1 day a week. At that time, I didn't have any knowledge of what the future was going to be with the hobby shop. It just always kind of was at a spot during that time of, well, it looks like it's failing. And I spent a year being around there, and I got kind of over the fabrication scene. As many people know, if you're not owner, you're really not going to make out to be really good unless you got some crazy skill and you're fast at coming up with a new way to fabricate something, which I've been the welder. I was never the guy that could be like, that's how we do it. So it kind of just phased out of me where I was getting over it. And I quit the job I had, and I went to the hobby shop full time. And I was at the hobby shop for 2 weeks. And for some reason in my head, I just had a feeling of, well, why don't I just focus on trying to learn everything I can about this business? Something in the back of my head was telling me something. So I focused for 2 weeks trying to learn all the backstory and every little tiny computer thing there could be on how this business operates. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks go by, and the owner asked me first, and he said, "Hey, I'm thinking of selling it. Do you want to buy it?" And I was like, oh my God.
Timing in life, dude.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep. And my parents have been business owners my entire life. So I've been around the hustle. I've been around, what it takes and the sales tactic. So I'm a very good talker, and I know how to sell stuff. So it all just made sense. And I have a drive to succeed in anything I put my mind to. So it just lined up, and the guy gave me a very good deal, and I kind of just bought a business that needed to be restarted in a way. I bought the name and, what there was in the building, but the product was all very old and needed a restart. And in the first year of me being there, it was a lot to learn and a lot to figure out. But in the first year, just having my brain behind the business, I doubled gross profit. So I was like, okay, this is a great start, and it shows that this can go somewhere good. And hustled over the next couple years after that, and had my downtimes, had my uptimes. I mean, had moments where I thought that was the end of the line during hot summers and not having enough product yet because I didn't go into it with a ton of money.
Did COVID affect you guys?
COVID was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So yeah, people either had really bad or really good.
I mean, anyone in doing anything outdoors, succeeded. And luckily, where we were in El Cajon, the mayor was against it, and we never closed doors once. During COVID, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was more scared than anything, as everyone probably felt at first with their business.
Yeah.
I got rid of all my employees. I worked every day for 120 days straight when COVID started, and I just kept hustling, and we were busy. And I had, one of our busiest sales day ever as I'm working by myself selling things. And we had, I would say probably at least 500 people on one day. It was crazy.
In a hobby shop.
It's
crazy.
During COVID. Yeah. By myself.
Is that including like the indoor track you had? Or
no, this is before we moved.
Okay.
Yep. And COVID was a blessing in disguise for sure. And it turned out to, I did my first $1 million year during COVID, and it was an eye opener for sure to just see, well, where can we go from here? I mean, it's still busy, and I grew the product like crazy. So at the end of that year, a goal of mine was always in my head of, well, I want a bigger shop. I want a track. You know, I want to take this to the next level. You don't always want to be in your same rut, because then you could be in your same rut forever. So luckily, there was another building in our complex that was opening up, and it was big enough to grow the inventory, have a better layout, and do an indoor track. So we decided to, well, I don't know why I say we, I decided to do that. And it was a big leap. It's scary. Any big business move is scary for sure. But it worked out, and we, me and my employee Ryan, who operates the whole business pretty much, we went into that and built this whole place, took down walls, built the track. It was a crazy adventure, something I've never done before in my life, but it turned out awesome, and business just kept growing, and it was booming. And in that next year, we almost doubled our previous year of sales. So I was like, okay, this is, you know, we could keep moving with this.
There's that big of a market in RC.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, think about it. RC cars have been around for as long as you can remember.
Yeah.
And it's an industry that's never died. It's never gone away. And Horizon Hobby, who's, you know, the mom and pop of quite a bunch of the brands, they explain it as a way of hobby shops have survived every economic turn.
Mm-hmm.
They've never fully disappeared. Yeah, they've thinned. I think that with online and people not having the business drive and doing it correctly or the right area, they've thinned out, but it's never died. It's never gone away. And fortunately, where we are down in San Diego, it's an off-road hub. I mean, everyone around there goes to the desert, goes to the river, loves off-road stuff. So the RC cars is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just never slows down. I mean, yeah, you have times like kind of right now where it's a little bit less. The world's a little crazy. There's always something going on, and it kind of dies back, but then it comes back strong. And it people love RC cars. It's like a drug. You get into it and you're obsessed with it. Then you need the next 10 of them. And then all of a sudden you're at the hobby shop every day funding my future off-road endeavors. And it's a cool industry. And what's good for me is my off-road has been a passion of my life as well. And RC cars correlate with it extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at Nick and Chris Eisenhower, they got a body, you know, and an RC car possibly coming that is just like their trucks.
Yeah.
So, and those are good friends of mine, and it all syncs together. And Blake's got an RC car body and future things coming, and it just all.
He's got that little boat too.
There is a shreddy boat right now, and something else cool coming this summer, and it all just correlates very good. So the hobby shop industry is just a perfect way to continue my venture of what I want to do. It allows me to bring the RC cars to events I go to and advertise my business and push towards what I want to grow in the off-road industry with the racing stuff. So I'm very fortunate and happy to have the hobby shop, and it's grown to something amazing. We just launched our website a couple weeks ago, cajonhobbies.com.
Yeah, I saw that. Looks good.
Yep. And we spent a lot of time on making that dialed. And I never wanted a website. I said since day one, I want this to be just you come into the shop. I mean, that you want to be hands-on with the customers. But, I mean, the world's different.
You have to adapt. It's like we were talking about social media earlier. You have to, no matter if we like it or not, you have to adapt to each change.
And what's the next move? Because you think in your head, I got the bigger location. Business is good. I have the track. You know, down the line, a bigger building and more product and this and that, growing maybe what we sell. But what's your next step? Because you always want to look ahead. You always want to be advancing in what you're doing. So the next step in our head was, well, why don't we do the website thing? Because the website, we're very fortunate with Horizon Hobby that we could drop ship product straight from their warehouse, that we don't have to have the product in the shop. So just that alone is huge.
Yeah.
So, you know, we spent the money and the time and got the website made, and it's beautiful. It's easy. Other websites are kind of hard to navigate, and this one is just super simple. And it captures your eye good. And it's just, we're working on the marketing part right now, trying to get it out there. But the next step in our head was, well, We captured everyone in East County and the local people. And I've always had people over the years message me to get RC cars, and then we'll ship them and this and that. But it's always been this process. I need your credit card number. I need this. I need that. And now I could just say, hey, go to cajonhobbies.com if you're interested and purchase it, and it'll come right to your house. I don't have to do anything anymore.
That's cool.
It's all, a simple program. And we could capture the people that are our audience on social media, and they could just easily get our product and support us. And just trying to capture everyone else in the world too, So it's hard to compete with the other companies that are spending thousands a month on advertising on Google. But, everything takes time. So I could see it. I hope to get moving 25 cars a week on there or something.
The organic growth is slow, but it's organic.
It's organic.
I think you
could buy your way into anything, but you want to be smart with money, so doing it slowly and organically in the right move, it's definitely worked out.
I don't think you want your business to triple in size tomorrow.
No.
You want to grow into that.
You wouldn't be ready for it either. So it will be a good thing. Online is the way of the future,
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it.
So the indoor track you have, what are you guys doing with that? Is that just a place that people can go and hang out, or do you do races?
That's a quick little story of its own. There's not enough tracks for RC cars. Everyone's got their own little local outdoor spot that has built jumps and stuff. So I wanted to be able to have that indoor location that, it's not as big as the other one that's in San Diego, but to capture the people that want to come play, get out of the heat, get out of the rain, and we could do race nights and have a good time and gather up good people and have fun, clean races. Well, I unfortunately was shown a sample of clay dirt that was beautiful, the best looking clay I've ever seen, and I was like, all right, this is the clay we want. I got delivered 45 yards of dirt with rock in it. Had a little clay in there, but it was a lot of rock, and we spent a lot of time.
45 yards. How big is this track?
It's I'd say probably about 1,300 square feet.
Jeez.
Yeah, a little bit smaller now. We made another office, but it's good size for being indoor like that in a building where we are. But we had a hard time finding traction after we built the track, and just trying to have the 10 scale size cars in there it's just a little too small, and the traction was hard. So we were battling getting the right tires and this and that. So eventually, over time, when we did buy the transponder system, we did some races with mini cars, low C Mini T and Mini B, which is 18th scale, and that was more affordable for people to get into, and also a little bit more of a challenge because they're smaller, so they don't drive as stable. And we were like, okay, this is what we want to do in here. We don't want the bigger cars anymore. And we sifted every yard of dirt in that track. We went through and got rid of all the rock, and the track turned great. But another cool thing in the RC world is carpet, and there's no carpet track locally. So we were fortunate enough to work with Fern from Fern's Barbecue, a good buddy of mine, who helped supply and fund the carpet, and we turned it into a carpet track, and it's very popular.
What kind of carpet is it?
I can't even.
I mean, is it like
that normal office style carpet?
Oh, office style.
Yeah. And just the traction's so high, and it made everyone have way more fun and be way more stoked to come and do it. And it's been good. We do race nights every Tuesday. It starts at 6. We usually go till about 9 or 10, depending on how busy it is. I have 35 transponders. People are borrowing them between each other now because we have so many people. So it's been a very popular. I mean, we'll gather 60 people, between people viewing and driving per Tuesday night, and everyone's friendly. It's a lot of the same people, but you do capture some new people sometimes. But it's very friendly and fun, and it gets people to come and just spend time, in the shop.
It's a healthy hangout spot.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good for me. I could sell more parts when they break them, or they want the next better car or faster car.
Yeah.
Or it's overall good. Could I use the space to make more money? Probably, but I mean, I'm so community oriented with everything I do with the hobby shop and the off-road stuff. I'd rather have that spot be a good hangout, a good gathering, something to give back to the community because they're so supportive of me having my business and always coming in. Well, now you got a spot to come and, like I said, get out of the heat, get out of the rain, and have a good Tuesday night of racing. So it's cool. It's fun.
No, it is cool, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll have to get down there at some point. I've never been down there. I've always heard of it.
Yeah.
Do you guys sponsor a couple of cars?
No.
I feel like I've seen that logo on
friends that drive some UTVs, and stuff. Yeah. I not being greedy, saying that I can't sponsor people. It's more just I want to grow it to a point where that is just an easy thing to do. You know, because
you're trying to fund your own schedule.
I've been doing a lot for myself, so I'd say I sponsor myself right now, and that's kind of I need to get that to a point where it's either funded easier or better, or I have the better partnerships going on in the future that maybe I could work towards sponsoring other cars because it would be great. It's a great idea. I love it. It's just getting to that point. We'll get there for sure.
Yeah, I've seen a few UTVs that have the logo on it.
Yep. Yeah. All my friends have UTVs and off-road cars. So yeah, they all run Cajon Hobby's logos for sure. Yeah.
So as a kid growing up, you said you got into RCs at 12, right? Mm-hmm. Were you into off-road before that?
My entire life. I was going to Glamis when I was in my mom's stomach. So I was born into the off-road scene and was riding quads and dirt bikes at a very young, early age and being in my dad's buggy. And it's never gone away. I mean, there's not one year in my life where I did not hit the dirt. And over the years, I never had really racing. I was never in a racing family. My dad doesn't do it. It's been in the back of my head always, but it was never an achievable goal, to race anything really.
Yeah.
And I just kept riding for fun with friends and going to the desert my entire life and turned it into, when you get old enough to have your own place and your own money. And I got out of the dirt bike thing. I just preferred driving. My parents got a 4-seat Razor 1000 back in 2015, and I put 3,000 miles on it in Havasu by myself, living there. I had nothing better to do, and just realized, I prefer to drive than ride a dirt bike, and I felt it was just more fun. And so after doing that for a couple of years of driving that car, I moved back to San Diego, like I said, and bought my own Razor. And after a year of being back in San Diego, I bought a 2016 Razor Turbo and just started going and driving my own car, paying for my own stuff and fixing my own crap. And I've been in love with it my whole life. It never stops. And turned that into getting a Can-Am, which I had for a couple of years, and just nonstop trips to the desert and kept it going. And the Razor Pro R was something I knew about for a couple years through the industry I know it's coming, and I jumped on that ASAP as soon as day one they released it, got on the pre-order list, and I was the first one in California to get one through a dealership. And I just said, well, this is kind of like the time to start expanding what I'm doing and kind of being a little crazier. The cars are so good, and so I started to take the off-roading to the next level, and I was jumping the thing like I've never jumped before right away in the first couple weekends of having it, and just, trying to take it to the next level of, well, that's huge on social media. Anything in Glamis moves good on social media. So started driving hard and just fell in love with all of it even more, and getting the bigger group of people and getting closer to Blake. And just the off-road thing's a passion.
You grew up with Blake?
I've known Blake for, I could say 15 years now, not saying that we were always close. I grew up going to the Lower River down in Yuma, and I would always run into him. We were acquaintances and been around each other. And then I'd say probably about 5 years ago now, when Shreddy started to become a thing, we started hanging out more and more and started traveling together. And then over the past, honestly, couple years is where we just started diving into traveling together more and doing more events. And I'm fortunate enough that I don't work a 9 to 5. So me being able to go do Oregon trips or Utah trips or UTV takeover or anything, was doable. And so we just started doing that more and more and work at the shop together. And, we both are very good friends and we both push each other to succeed even more. I mean, he's been helpful in everything I want and vice versa. I work on all the cars with him, the TT Bug, Megalodon, the Razors, especially the Razor. It's all something that I go over there and help him with, and both of us succeeding is,
which seems like nonstop.
It never stops. No, it's never ending. Especially if anyone follows him, you could see it never really.
It's crazy. I know you've been traveling with him more. I've seen it a lot more in the last couple of years, but to be able to accomplish all the mechanic work and all the trips, it's gnarly.
It's gnarly.
Yeah.
I'm not there, obviously, full time at his shop doing everything with him, but I'm there enough to, when we have a trip coming, it is, 2-3 days beforehand of full entire days being there.
Yeah.
All the way till, we'll be in there till 1 a.m. if we want to or have to try to just get ready to get the cars to go. Because every time we're going somewhere, it's usually we got 5 cars going or 4 or 3 cars going. And it's, these things require maintenance and changing fluids. And, especially his trophy truck is always a feat on its own to just maintenance it and get things ready. But it's a nonstop job. And it's a fun job. I've never been super mechanically inclined motor-wise or anything, but I've learned a lot through him and very hands-on. I love to get dirty. I'll always say at the end of the day, my back hurts or this or that, but I'm very happy doing what it requires to get out there and have a good time and expand this life. But it's a feat on its own, for sure. There's nothing easy about being deeper in the off-road world. Nothing easy at all. It requires you to basically do it as a full-time job, for sure.
Yeah, Parsons and I were talking about this right after King of Hammers. He had kind of a hell of a week at King of Hammers.
Even again right now.
Yeah, right now. And that's like a perfect example of what you're talking about.
Never stops.
Like he just posted a picture of how cool that truck looked.
Yep.
A couple hours later,
oil leak.
Boom, blew the motor.
Yeah.
And it does, like on your pocketbook, on your time, like
mentally.
A lot of people just see on social media this perfect life,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like I like how when you do a race, so you just did your race on Saturday, Sunday you had posted on your story, cars ripped apart already, or you're ripping it apart.
Yeah, yep.
You were looking at some stuff, and I think people need a little bit more of that to be in touch with the reality of what this is. It's not just living this crazy life of always racing.
Show up, get in the car and drive.
Yeah, or like Glamis. Glamis always looks like a blast, but what did it take to get to Glamis? You know?
Yeah.
After your last trip, wherever you were,
It's a full day.
Yeah.
Day or two of just even getting prepped to leave to go anywhere,
but
without even touching a car.
the off-road community, like once you have your network of people, like if you break out there, the amount of people that can get you parts or help you out, it's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. Everyone is so friendly and so willing to help in any which way. Especially, I grew up in Glamis, and I'd say my biggest audience on social media is Glamis.
Yeah.
So being out there, I've helped tons and tons of people with stuff, and just everyone is so loving and so friendly to lend a hand, help in any which way possible. It's an industry that is very open-hearted.
Yeah.
I love it. Everyone's so nice. You go to the Mint and everyone's just, stoked on your car and talking to you about it, and everyone's so friendly to each other.
There's so many different walks of life.
There's no hate.
Yeah.
It's just a good time.
This guy's walking. We just talked about him walking in.
Yep.
That's cool.
It's a great industry to be in.
Yeah, and there's so many different walks of life too. Like you could have a trophy truck guy talking to you about your Razor, or vice versa. And
it's all similar stuff. They're just going way faster.
you have
more money.
You have your keyboard warriors talking about the golf carts, or talking about which to me is funny banter. Like, but ultimately, it is a family of off road. We all do the same thing. So that's cool. Do you have any plans of ever getting a different style vehicle, leaning more towards like what Blake does?
Yeah, with more money, but besides,
they're expensive.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to be doing that. Of course, it's a goal.
Yeah.
everyone wants a trophy truck, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't? I think the side-by-side industry is very easy to get into. I mean, any person can go to your local dealership and finance one. So, and they're easy to work on, and they're getting to be better and better cars.
Mm-hmm.
So the side-by-side industry is just a good way to start the program, and be able to grow from there is definitely the goal. I mean, Blake started out with one car, and now he's got an abundance of them throughout the property. And
yeah, I think it becomes more and more work too. The bigger vehicle you get,
yep,
like taking it out to places like Can-Am or a Razor, it's easy to load up on a trailer.
For sure.
Get it out there.
Well, that's been my whole problem is I have tons of my friends saying, get a sand car. Okay, well, I need the truck, I need the trailer, or I need a motorhome. You know, it's a escalating factor, and it's the same thing with any bigger car. The side-by-sides fit so easily with it, pretty much everything. So, you know, it takes a lot to have a bigger truck.
Yeah,
and I don't even have the garage for it right now, so that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, we're jumping in, obviously doing the same District 38 stuff with the Can-Am, and then now I think we just ordered all the material to start building the 6100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aaron's been talking to me about that.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna time lapse the whole 6100 build, but the whole race thing, we're talking about doing King of Hammers next year, 6100. I mean, the whole race program compared to what we just did. I don't even think we're near mentally ready for it.
No, it's crazy. I mean, I've been around a bunch of friends and good people that have trophy trucks, and I've been in the industry a while. I've seen what it takes, and I've helped Blake, you know, prep his car, and it's crazy. I mean, you're changing all the hardware, every Heim.
Yeah.
You know, all the fluids.
I mean, the whole car comes apart.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and just to have the space to put all those parts is needed also. It's a crazy ordeal, but it's a goal for sure. I mean, that should be the goal for everyone.
When you get behind the wheel, that's like what all that work led up to is right there.
Yep. I've been fortunate enough to be in the TT Bug plenty of times, and I haven't driven it crazily myself yet, but I've driven it around, and it's you know, the most ridiculous, amazing thing through the dirt, and how it drives and how it handles.
That thing is
unbelievable.
Crazy, dude. Blake asked me one time if I want to ride in it. I told him no. I was filming.
Yeah.
And
well, once you go in it, I mean, there's no.
I don't like being a passenger. I trust Blake. I watch what he does.
Yeah.
But I'd rather be behind the wheel. And either way, if I'm filming, like, just what I've gotten to film on that, it blows my mind.
Yeah. And it's crazy that, you know, him and Kevin came up with that and designed the whole thing and built it themselves, and they're building a second one for a customer right now. And, you know, it's beyond what I could have done by myself. So it's an unbelievable vehicle. It's rad.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool you get to be around a lot of good people in the industry, and I'm sure it helps you with your program, and
big time.
It helps you get to where you want to be, and so future plans for you next season. What's your race schedule? What are you thinking about right now with that?
Without even getting to next year yet, Baja 500 might be a possibility this year. Baja, I've never even been down to Mexico like that.
Yeah.
But I've been around it long enough that I know what it requires, and I know it's a feat on its own just to get down there and do 500 miles in the desert. I mean, it takes a crew and tons of money and pre-running and this and that. But, you know, this idea came to mind between me and Blake of, hey, let's go do this, you know, and maybe we get partners on board that help. And so we're discussing it and trying to figure it out.
For you?
No, we would just split it. I would do 250. He would do 250. That was kind of part of the planning of the build of the car was, you know, if Blake, because he doesn't have a race razor yet, that if he wanted to race a razor, that I got mine. Mm-hmm. I mean, we both do everything together, so might as well share that. I mean, if he wrecks it, we'll rebuild it. I mean, we both work on everything together. So I was very open with the idea of letting him drive the car. So we're in the talks of trying to come up with the Baja 500 program. Am I ready for it? Probably not.
Yeah.
But, might as well take a chance, just like I did at the Mint. I took a chance, and, we just want to finish.
You don't know until you go down there.
No, I have no idea. Yeah, so, I mean, if we go and we finish last in our class, whatever. We finished the Baja 500, and the car finished the Baja 500, which is the biggest thing to me.
Or it could be the opposite. You can go down there and finish top 10 and call it a day.
Which, you have to take those big leaps in this industry to get eyes on you.
Yeah.
I do know some Polaris people, and obviously a goal down the line is to be a part of Polaris and a factory driver, obviously. So just going down there and hopefully finishing, I mean, it just, the eyes, you want to capture those people's eyes, and the big companies, they're watching score more than they are our D38 race we just did. That small stuff is fun and cool and easy and affordable. But I mean, if you want to grow in the industry, you have to give results, and you have to do the big races.
Yeah.
So, but the future would be Vegas to Reno, also possibly this year. I did that last year with Nick and Chris Eisenhower, so I got an eyesight of it. It's a big adventure as well, just like doing Mexico. But beyond that, I'd say growing into next year would be, I hope that the social media platform is growing for me, more followers throughout the year, so that when we come into next year, hopefully with some results throughout this year, that we could get better contracts and, kind of just keep growing so that it's more, affordable to do what I'm doing and to get out there and, keep the adventure flowing. And hopefully it just keeps building up to a point of, maybe the next trophy truck or something one day, as we were saying.
Yeah. What I love about what we do is I feel like there's no maximum age at it.
No.
Like you see guys up there that are 60 years old.
Yeah, the
still
Trophy Truck Legends class. I mean,
there
were older guys racing in, and it's
awesome. Dirt bikes, I grew up riding dirt bikes. I mean, once you get a couple injuries in your 20s, I'm like,
the cage thing is the best thing for sure.
And I'm slowly, like myself, getting into. I just wanted to film off road, but it is such a slippery slope once you get around with these guys. You can only film so much before you're like, hey, I want that. Or I need that,
yeah.
And then, you go buy, we bought a pre-runner, and that lasted 6 months. I'm like, I need better. You know?
For sure.
It's never enough.
Well, what's been helpful for me is, I want my own sand car, I want my own trophy truck, and this and that, but being friends with Blake and as close as we are, I've been fortunate enough that he has let me drive Megalodon, a bunch of different times, and okay, well, I don't really need a buggy.
Thing rips too.
I don't really need a buggy because, every now and then he'll let me drive it. And I'm like, okay, cool, we're good. I don't want to pay for a training or a motor. So, I get my fix on it. But that car's rad, like you were just saying. It's that rips, short wheelbase is everything.
Dude, at the Off-Road Expo when they were doing the demo, I was filming right at the K-Row right there, and he came just pinned straight at me, and then he whipped it. And it was still coming at me as he was burning out.
Yeah.
It took so much out of me. I was shaking. Because, it's like...
And it's a screamer, too.
It's right there. And then it was just exhaust to my face.
Yeah, that car...
It's pretty crazy.
I've been in a bunch of different sand cars before, and the nimbleness is unbelievable. The way that the car can just be thrown into the corner is the most fun. I've been in bigger sand cars with the 4 seats and long wheelbase, and, big horsepower is rad, and... cool, but just being able to throw that thing wherever you want and then have the horsepower to wheelie out of it, ideally that's the best platform, having a short wheelbase.
Speaking of whipping things around, so what's up with the Raptor, dude? You got the Raptor slamming that thing around Glamis.
So I've that's my best way to explain this. I wanted to buy a vehicle that was a second vehicle. I've never, over the past couple of years, been a big fan of having just one vehicle to drive on the street because if something happens to it, or just being able to have that second car in case you need it,
Yeah.
So last year, I been thinking for a while about a new Bronco, but I'm not really the rock crawler guy or the trail guy. So I was like, I don't know. I went and drove.
But those things rip in Glamis, dude. I got to ride
not
like what you guys want to do, but I got to ride in Air 2 AM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His Bronco. We were filming with SoCal Eric. And he was like, yeah, just hop in my Bronco. And I was a little skeptical, but dude, it was mobbing.
Yeah. But overall, it's more of the trail vehicle. And I've never, we don't live in Moab. So I was like, well, and just thinking of like putting a gas can in the back of a Bronco, for all the off-road stuff I do, it's like, it doesn't really just add up. And I can't really tow a trailer with it. So I'm very close with the people at Cajon Ford. And they had a pre-owned 21 Raptor on the lot the day I went and looked at these Broncos also. And my buddy Josh said, as soon as you drive that, you're going to buy it. And I took it for a drive, and I was like, damn it. And, came up with a business plan to pay for it through the business by selling shirts, snacks, and Fern's jerky out of my shop and hats, and that pays for the Raptor.
Nice.
You always want to make the big moves like that with coming up with a way to pay for it that's not really coming out of your real pocket,
Make it make sense.
Yeah, make it, and it's advertising for the business, and me going to all these different places all the time, it's wrapped, it says Cajon Hobbies on it, so, it's another good eyesight for the business too. But I don't know. I don't think when I bought it, I had any idea of what I was going to actually start doing with it. Mm-hmm. I just said, okay, this is awesome. I know what Raptors are capable of, but I've never driven one. And my first Glamis trip, I was like, well, all right, let's go try this thing out. I lowered the tire pressure down and started going through the dunes, and I was like,
no idea what it was going to do.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The fact that we could fit 5 people in it, and we're laughing and jamming music with the AC or heater on, and we're going up any dune there is out there. I haven't tried China Wall yet, but that truck will make it up every single dune out there. And I was like, okay, like this is.
You put it in Baja mode, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I've tried like sand, snow mode, and then Baja mode. Baja mode is the better one. I've noticed that sometimes it still keeps advanced traction control. Yeah. So you have to, every time you get in it, when you turn it off, hold the traction control so it turns that stuff all the way off, and then it kind of, allows the wheel slip more and it gets down with it. It's pretty wild what that truck is capable of, bone stock from the factory without you adding anything. And I've grew up in a world of pre-runners and us putting mid-travel and long travel on our stuff, and this is a vehicle you could buy straight from the lot that it will do anything you want it to do.
Go.
We've gone through the whoops on Sand Highway at 65 miles an hour, and it skips over the top of them in a stock truck from the factory. It's unbelievable.
And you're not like scared. You're not worried about what it's doing?
First time I went through the whoops, I just gave it a whirl, and you have to commit or don't do it.
Yeah.
In a truck that big and that stock, like you don't have a roll cage, you don't have harnesses, and it's still big and heavy. So it's commit or don't. And the first time I tried it, I was bumper, 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 bumper trying to slow down through the whoops because I was like, holy crap, this is sketchy. But then when I started to figure out how the truck worked and acted better, we've had 5 people in there, and we will, go through all the dunes and then hit the whoops on Sand Highway. And as long as you stay in it, it'll just keep on going. And after every Glamis trip, it drives home perfectly straight. And that's usually the key thing of like, you used to go drive these trucks and all of a sudden you leave and your steer wheel's sideways, but it's perfectly straight every time. You change the fluids in it, if you're driving it hard like that, and it keeps going, doesn't die. It's crazy. I don't know. I never really thought what was going to happen with me getting one. And after I started going through the dunes with it, I was like, it's actually capturing a lot of people's eyes, and it gets a lot of attention on social media as well, doing things in the Raptor and just showing that this truck is meant for this and designed by Ford for this, and I'm doing it.
People aren't used to seeing the stock Raptor smashing through the dunes.
Yeah, so
you might see him like going down Sand Highway slowly, or
in the first week, all my friends at our big Glamis group just started calling me Raptor Harry. and now that's like a pretty normal thing for me. But yeah, it was another thing that kind of like taking the next step with the razors. You know, I took a different step in a direction I didn't know it was going to be like a cool direction, and it works. It's cool. It captures good audience on social media and people in Glamis, and it's a good time. And being able to have your friends in there, and you know, like I said, the AC and the music going, and we're laughing the whole time because realistically, should we be hitting this that hard? Maybe not, but like it's a good time, and the truck takes it, and it's fun, and it's capable, so it's cool.
You building any of the Raptor?
Undecided.
I'm sure there's thoughts.
I mean, I'd say with trucks like that, it works best stock. You know, I know that there's plenty of awesome suspension stuff to do, especially. You know, I've already had conversations with you guys on things to do, but I don't know. Undecided.
Yeah.
We could.
Well, when you want to.
Yeah.
You know where to go.
More travel just means I'm going to get crazier.
Yeah.
But it's possible.
Hey, I had a question for you since you just did the verified thing on Instagram.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a 50-50 of heat or no heat on people doing this, but I personally think it's smart.
Yeah. I saw a buddy of mine had a check mark one day, and I was like,
no way, dude.
I was like, no way, right? And I've tried to get verified before. Anyone could try it if you have a business platform or even a regular platform, and you're doing a lot of social media. You could try it. Before they had this, you could just submit, you know, a bunch of stuff through TikTok, through Instagram, and they'll approve it or not. Even I had Blake try it because I was like, you could get it for sure, and they didn't give it to him either.
Yeah.
So I gave it a try one day, and obviously didn't get it. I don't have enough followers for it, and they also want references from YouTube and stuff like that, other URLs that, you know, you're doing big things. But yeah, all of a sudden one day I saw my buddy who had a blue check mark, and I was like, no way. And I just so happened to like randomly, probably on TikTok, hear something about, you know, the verification thing on Instagram, and I just so happened to look at the settings and see something that said meta verified, and I read it more on Instagram, and then I also Googled it, and it had something to do with more security of your app, because a lot of people get hacked on Instagram, and the last thing I want after, you know, all the work you're putting into this is to get hacked and lose everything. Yeah. You know, and another thing that it said it was doing was security. You know, it added an extra layer of verification that, you know, locked the account more to specifically you and no one else to be able to get into it. So maybe that was their trick to try to get people to give them $15 a month.
I know it's money.
Yeah, no, they made a lot.
It's money, but so for like my Dweezy Films account, for me, on a film account that I've put years of hard work into, slowly growing it. Yep. Like, it's not like I went from 0 to 100,000 in a month, you know? So if that were to get hacked and I lose that, dude, that's like your all your hard work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, I'm trying to grow that right now too. So it's everything I'm doing. So to be able to, if I lost that would be very unfortunate. So I read, if it's true or not, that it added another layer of security to your profile. And I was like, all right, I'll go for it. And it was funny because I think I jumped on that about 5 days before other people started saying stuff about it on Instagram, you know, talking about you could buy it. And I had friends and followers say, how are you verified? What the hell? That's crazy. Yeah. And I just like would laugh about it, and I wouldn't tell them anything. And then about 5 days later, people started posting about, you know, oh, you could buy it now, and talking crap about that. And I seen a bunch of people that have bought it, and, you know, people that are against it. And, you know, it's just another thing. I mean, everyone's got their own side of it, whatever. Yeah. You know, it looks cool. You got a blue check mark, whatever. Cool, and you know, a lot of people, if it does add a layer of security to your profile, cool. You know, $15, whatever.
A lot of people are talking about how it's going to affect sponsorships or companies looking at you, because before, if you got verified, people would look at you and be like, man, this guy's doing big things. But I still think that it all ultimately comes down to analytics.
I mean, at the end of the day, if in the off-road industry, if a company came at me and looked at me to possibly give me partnership or sponsorship, if they said, oh, this guy paid that $15 for that blue check mark and they turned me down for that, I think it's their loss overall. I mean, that's unfortunate to look at it that way.
And hopefully by the time they've already gotten to you, they know about you from...
Yeah. It shouldn't be about the $15 spent on a blue check mark, not at all.
Yeah, so if you get it, pay it.
Yeah, whatever.
Get it verified.
Just another thing.
I got it on my account. Yeah. I've been, I don't know, the last couple weeks I've been thinking about it a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
And the more I think about it, I think it's cool.
I had people I ran into, friends of mine at a bar, and they were like, why'd you pay for that? You're so stupid. That's embarrassing. And I was like, well, I don't really care. I'm not, everyone wants to judge whatever they want to judge, but I'm never one to take it to heart and be butthurt about it. So, it doesn't matter to me. If everyone's got an opinion on something, I have some things I post that, I see that it got a lot of shares. Well, those shares half the time probably are people talking crap about whatever it is you posted, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, any visualization on social media is good. I mean, if people are talking crap about something or sharing it to their buddy, and it just gets more eyes on whatever you're doing. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean,
your account's still your account. It didn't change your account.
It's not going to change what I'm doing or how I'm acting or how the drive I have to succeed. I mean, there's failures in everything you do in life. Yeah. So if I'm showing that the car's not performing the past 3 races and I can't finish a race, I mean, and I have the people that want to talk crap or spread it or whatever, you're not changing my happiness and my drive to do what I want. Yeah. It's all part of growing, and any publicity is good publicity, I think.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, and from an outside in, it looks like you're enjoying life, and I think that's a big lack in the world nowadays. Is if people aren't happy with what they're doing, they immediately go to the next person and talk crap on that person or whatever. And stay in your own lane and do what you do.
Be humble, be kind. I get tons of people that DM me on certain questions or responding to stories or talking to me about this or that. And, maybe I don't know everyone, but I mean, you respond in a way of we're all family. And, they're here supporting me and what I do and asking about the things I'm doing. So there's no reason to ever not be happy and, show the kindness back and the support, No,
and you never know what smile you're putting on somebody's face.
Yeah, for sure.
With the LSK page, like, people will be like, dude, you responded to me?
Yeah, right.
Like, it's right. Like, we're just people,
Yeah. Another thing that I think, going back to that social media topic of how the world is now with it, it's crazy to me that with my Instagram, I don't have a ton of followers, but the eyesight on just the Pro R stuff alone and what I do is huge.
Yeah.
Like, I get tons and tons of people that message me daily that are asking me questions about Pro Rs or this part or that part or, and I could honestly sit here and tell you I have probably sold 40 razors since I got my Pro R, for sure.
No Can-Ams.
No Can-Ams. Well, I had a Can-Am. I probably sold a couple during then, but the Pro R was where I took my bigger leap, showing social media wise. I had an X3. Yep.
So the reason being for the switch was Razor pushed the envelope with the new car.
Can-Am has growth to be made for sure. The car
Aren't they working on a car?
Yeah. Supposedly. The Can-Am I drove my buddies one day at New Year's at a desert trip years ago, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is way better than my Razor Turbo I had. And I think within 2 weeks I bought one. And I drive things hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that casual driver like probably most of the industry is, and I drive it hard, and I learned every freaking weakness that thing had, and it was never ending. And the Can-Am was a very great, comfortable, I kind of liked the lean back seating position, and the suspension was smoother, and, it had more travel, it was faster. The platform's good, but the small things when you are a hard driver show. And that car required, I'm not going to lie, 15 to 20 grand into it to be able to go out and stay together a whole weekend for the driving I was doing. And
hopefully stay together.
Hopefully. I mean, I would still blow up belts every trip. And, you know, I know how to pulsate the throttle, and I know how to, you know, keep the belt alive. But when you have big power and you add big power and you got the paddles and you're pushing hard, and that thing went through 2 belts per Glamis trip pretty much. And I went through secondary clutches, a primary clutch, and still things after you make the suspension components sturdy and good with all the upgrades, it was still going through stuff left and right all the time. And
we're struggling with that now. We've done, obviously we have the X-Travel, we have LSK trailing arms, suspension's pretty dialed in.
Yeah.
And now we haven't broken anything suspension-wise, but drivetrain-wise, we're...
Drivetrain. I never broke an axle on the Can-Am. I went through 1 diff, normal use of, 2,000 miles. But yeah, the clutching and the belts and just how much you need to put into it to make it a solid car. I saw a video once in Glamis of a guy rolling down the drags, got ejected out of a Can-Am, and there was a picture of him flying through the air in the seat with the harnesses over his body still. And that was a stock Can-Am seat mount. Immediately after that, I went and bought like $1,000 billet seat rails and mounted the seats like as best as I could.
How do you get ejected out of the vehicle? Like,
I don't know. I think the car was fairly stock, but it was a big dude. Granted, it was a big dude, so he had some weight, and it tore the seat mount. And if anyone has a Can-Am, you're probably seen that the seat adjuster that slides back and forth pretty much fails on month 1. I mean, it doesn't lock itself in all the way, especially if you're moving the seat often. And the structure alone isn't really that great. And just that, I mean, thinking about...
It's a big safety issue.
I mean, compared to, I'm not going to say that every manufacturer's doing it amazingly, but I mean, I got my head-on collision in my Pro R in Glamis when I first got it. And my driver's seat broke in half. And the seat never came undone, though, from the mount at all.
Just the actual seat?
Just the actual seat back broke in half from probably the force and the belts and all of that. And even the passenger seat, too. The woman I had with me, her seat broke in half as well. And I didn't see this till later on. That was a 50-mile-per-hour hit.
Yeah, back up real quick with that.
Okay.
Before we close this out, what happened with that crash? So it was out in Glamis?
Yeah. Glamis, as anyone knows, has tons of blind corners and cresting over hills. And, I mean, that's why we run flags and stuff like that. My second weekend owning the Pro R in February last year, me and our buddies were entering Sunset Hill. Sunset Hill in Glamis is very busy in the evening time. I mean, that's where everyone goes to watch sunset and hang out. And there's a main entrance in, and it has a bowl, and then you go up to the top to park. Well, there's another bowl on the backside of that people kind of go around when they're about to go park at Sunset Hill coming from another direction. And this dune had a blind peak on it. And so when I did the bowl to enter, I was, exiting the bowl, probably cruising at I think it was about 35 to 50 in that zone. And my eyesight had a clear line of sight all the way up to the top of Sunset Hill to park where I wanted to. There was no other cars around me, no people around me where I needed to be cautious. And granted, I've been going to Glamis my whole life, so I'm used to every aspect of it. And I got on the throttle to go up the hill, and all of a sudden, there's another razor out of the corner of my eye. And he exited his bowl sideways, and we hit driver's side of my car to passenger side of his car, and we had no time to hit the brakes between the both of us. I mean, it was just boom, and couldn't hit the brakes, couldn't react to it, nothing, and immediately just impacted. And I made sure that my passenger was okay, and we got out of the car. I thought I broke my hand from the steering wheel. I also hit my knee really good on the dash, but I immediately, when I bought the car, put PRP harnesses in it. If you own a side-by-side, buy better harnesses as soon as you get the car. That is
important.
You can leave your stock cage if you want. I don't recommend it, but buy harnesses, because that was the game changer. Those retractable ones, or over the.
Dude, how are they putting over the shoulder in side by sides?
Oh, not really in the performance ones anymore.
No, I know. With we just had a YXE in here the other day.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
It looked like a regular car.
It's their way of cutting back a couple bucks. They
but if you flip with an over the shoulder, or whichever way, you're
screwed.
You're hitting the ground.
Yeah, not worth it. If you buy a side by side or you have one, I highly recommend getting 5-point or 4-point PRP harnesses, or whatever brand you want. But PRP is what I use, and do it, because it's a game changer. I mean, you're gonna be sore in a crash like what I had, but I walked away from it.
It'll hold your body.
And it holds my body. And the car took it good. And, the other party was, they were okay. And at the end of the day, we got it all figured out and moved forward. And it was a 50-50 accident, and stuff happens. I got a lot of crap for that. But, it wasn't me wrongdoing. It wasn't me being stupid or drifting into somebody or jumping and landing on someone. I mean, it was an accident. If I pull through a stop sign, someone goes through it also at the same time as me, and we hit each other, we're both stupid. Yeah. That is what it is. Things happen. So everyone was okay. And safety on these UTVs is a key thing. The newer cars are getting better and better with the cages, and everything's thicker. It was surprising what that car took at 50 miles an hour from the impact. The other car was a Turbo S, which is the previous generation of the Razor. Mm-hmm. It looked like a snake after. My car, the Pro R, had the driver's side lower arms gone and the shock broken, but the rest of the car physically looked completely fine, and it took the hit way better than what the old cars used to be. So the bar is getting higher in the industry. And back to what you asked me about with Can-Am, I've heard about Can-Am having a new car for years. It's been honestly 3 years that I think I heard about them doing something. I've heard supercharged Sea-Doo motor in it. I've heard, I know because I've seen patent pictures, the front shock will be on the lower arm, as what everyone else is trying to do, for better performance. I did see that Can-Am still had the shock at the same angle. Not really kind of the best choice in my head of trying to be a high performance vehicle, but it should be something better. And I've heard of them coming up with a better head unit for kind of do what Polaris does with the Ride Command, which is pretty unbeatable. So it'd be interesting to see what they have, because I know on their Sea-Doos they have a GPS system also. Yeah, something's coming.
It needs to come. It's been quite a few years,
but I can't get over with where Polaris is taking this, and I'm Polaris ride or die for sure. My Can-Am, I can't go back to Can-Am.
I've never driven it side by side. I'm around these things all the time, film them all the time, whatever. I've never driven one.
You need to. It's a life-changing thing. I took a couple of people for a ride right when I got the Pro R, and I was day one. I started doing ECU testing with Alba out in Glamis, and so we kind of mess with the speed limiter. And day one of being out in Glamis, I took someone for a ride. I was doing 98 miles an hour through Sand Highway. And you're sitting there and you're with the stock Ultimate Edition with the live valve shocks, sitting there and you're like, oh my God, this is, you could buy this from the dealership for $50,000 and it could do this. It's unbelievable.
Instead of a $150,000 sand rail to get.
You need to go in one.
Well, I think I'm going to.
I'll take you in mine.
I feel like I'll be
ruined.
You
won't fit in the race car, but my play car, yeah.
I feel like I'll be ruined if I start here with an X-Travel kit and
Yeah.
Because everybody talks about the feedback and all this stuff, and I don't know. I know all about X-Travel and everything it does.
Yep.
But I don't know what it feels like,
The X-Travel is a complete game changer. As I'm sitting here praising Polaris, there's always going to be things with cars that people don't like or is a problem. The front end of the Razor is of the Pro R and Turbo R. They kind of had to do a setup from factory to try to save the axles, so the car has a lot of movement of the tires throughout the travel. But the steering feedback is pretty gnarly in the Pro R and Turbo R. And, the X Travel technology it removes all of that. And I'm saying 99% of that. I've driven Blake's Pro R with that front end, and you can literally sit there and have 2 fingers on the wheel through whoops, and it'll stay completely straight.
Yeah.
In my stock one, my hands hurt, and probably about a half a lap, 15 miles, and it is severe trying to kill you. But everyone can hold on the wheel, so I'm not going to say kill you, but I mean it has feedback, and the X Travel stuff is unbelievable what it could do. Just that steering feedback alone, and then the other benefits of no more ball joints. Using uniballs, having more connecting points with uniballs. It's just the platform is crazy. And, I can't wait till I get mine. Can't wait.
It's pretty cool on the social media side. Every time you post an X Travel post, all the keyboard warriors come out.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to fight anything. I mean, that's what the social media is for, though.
You can't steer with that technology.
Well, you lose a little bit of steering.
Let's say it doesn't. I mean, there's guys that will be like, that doesn't steer at all. Doesn't work.
I've driven impossible. It works. It works.
I mean, guys we've done King of Hammers with it.
Yeah.
People have done
Baja
with it.
I have tons of fellow racers that have it. It works. It is a game changer for the aftermarket world of the A-arm kits. Yeah. I mean, there's tons of brands making them, but at the end of the day, if you bolt on different arms, just normal arms onto the front end of that car, it's going to have steering feedback still.
Yeah.
And the X Travel stuff just, it's needed, I'd say.
Well, one big thing that we're missing right now for LSK is Glamis, right? So we're trying to tap into the Glamis crowd. We have a bunch of UTV products, whatever. But on the X Travel side, like when you get on your car, I like to go out to Glamis.
Yeah. Yep.
Get some berm shots, get some shots. Yeah. With X Travel, because all we have is interior footage.
Well, and all the X Travel cars I've seen, besides Blake's, are all race cars.
Yeah.
So being able to capture that other side of it, yeah, definitely
something
huge.
Different than the hard packed dirt.
Yeah. The one thing with the sand would be Glamis doesn't give you as much feedback in the wheel, so those normal Glamis goers may not look at that kit and say, I don't know what these guys are talking about with the steering feedback. Like, the car feels pretty good.
Well, sand highway,
if you said. That's half the equation, though, because the ball joint thing.
Yeah.
I broke a couple ball joints, and I've seen plenty of people breaking ball joints out there. And,
Dude, there's like Instagram pages dedicated to people folding arms.
Yeah. So, and anything aftermarket's going to be stronger than stock. So if you're a Glamis goer and you're looking at different arms for your Pro R, Turbo R, I mean, just the X Travel stuff alone with the bigger spindle and the whole geometry change and uniballs, I mean, the whole package for sure is the way to go. Yeah. But yeah, like you're saying, let's go to Glamis with it.
Yeah.
Let's make videos with it. Let's show that other side of everything. That goes back to our original conversation. What are you trying to do with your off-road career? Well, if anyone, again, follows Blake, you could kind of see that guy isn't only capturing the race world, he's capturing the fun, go-having stuff, which is new in this world of off-road. Off-roads, if you have partnerships and sponsorships, it's always been about your racing. It's never been about that go-have-fun styling. So Blake, I think, changed the whole game on that to show that, well, he's not only a racer, he's out here having fun. He's doing Glamis and all these different places, and he's able to grow the industry like crazy and help all these different companies out and help everyone just love the industry even more and more. So that's where, when I decided to get into this more, I kind of wanted to follow those same footsteps as, well, I'm not going to sit here and only race, because everyone races. I mean, everyone does, You want to be different. You want to make yourself seem that you have a different idea than everyone else. So capturing, like I said, the Glamis thing is humongous. I get the most social media movement, with Glamis. And, now we're starting to spread into going to UTV takeovers and do stuff with that. So just spreading that audience to, we're not only at a race driving the same car that looks the same every single weekend. We're out here, meeting with the people, doing fun rides, doing new rides, and just being a part of everyone. Because racing, you don't get to, stop and have a beer.
Yeah.
And chit chat with everyone. But in Glamis, you get to, and everyone gets to come up and walk up to your cars and check them out, talk to you, and meet new people and capture that just different industry, that is the free flowing industry instead of the serious raceness. So that's kind of where I've been trying to gear myself towards as well. And then I think it adds a lot of value to you as a partner with a company if you're out there not only racing.
Well, it adds value, and I think it helps you not get burnt out too. If you're
for sure
constantly racing and not having that fun side of it for you,
yep.
At some point you're going to be like, all right,
I've been, I could see that. I've been racing long enough to lose my hype, but I could see where it could get to a point of like, okay, like this is the same thing again and again, and I love it. I mean, I've never been a big racer, and the Mint kind of like showed me, wow, like, damn, I love this. This is the most fun I've ever had driving off road.
Yeah.
So I don't think my passion for racing is going to die, but having that spread of doing other stuff, going out in the Raptor, going out in the play car, and being able to go to Glamis with my, we have a group of 100 people in our camp, and, capturing all of that aspect is huge. And I think trying to grow in the industry to have partnerships and sponsorships, that's the new future. I mean, Blake kind of drove that path to show that this isn't only about one thing.
To have fun. Yeah.
Yep.
And they're okay with it.
Yep.
So, well, I appreciate you coming down here, dude.
Of course.
You have an Instagram for Cajon Hobbies, right?
Yes, we do. That has been something. We have one of the more popular Instagrams of any hobby shop on the country. So it's growing.
So follow Cajon Hobbies. Is that all it is?
It's Cajon Hobby, but if you type in hobbies, it should come up as well. But Cajon Hobby on Instagram, and then my personal one's just Harrison Weiss. And You
guys doing any YouTube stuff?
No, I'm not.
Dude,
I've never been the person that's really great on camera. I think as soon as, any time that Blake pulls out his phone to do a selfie of like us posting a story together and we're talking about something, and it takes a couple tries, and I've never really been. I'm a talker, but I've never been the one. I think something with the camera right in front of me, I just kind of mess my words up sometimes. So the YouTube thing, I don't think is going to be worth all of my time, especially when everyone's trying to do it.
It's so time consuming.
It's very time consuming.
Yeah. Okay, so Instagram, Cajon Hobbies, Harrison Weiss.
Yep. And elconhobbies.com now.
Yeah, go check
Definitely
out the website.
worth checking it out. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Go get down there and do some races with this guy.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, dude, I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.